You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. I'm Britt Olson, your podcast host and holistic wellness coach, here for the purpose of guiding you to tap into your own true potential. And wow, do I have a fun conversation for you today, as we are going to dive deep into all things spirituality with one of my dearest friends. I'm so excited. But before we do so, it only felt appropriate to pull an oracle card for our collective community. I will be pulling a card from the Beyond Lumeria deck by Izzy Ivy, because today's guest is just so wise beyond her years. She has held so many lifetimes on this planet and in other realms. And honestly, this deck was literally begging for me to pull a card today. Okay, so when I went to pull a card, I actually felt called to pull two. So we are going to have two messages here today, which they literally could not correlate better with the podcast episode today. I'm so excited. Definitely let me know if these resonate with you. So the first card that I pulled, the card is Surrender. Surrender. Trust, letting go of control, free flow, receptivity, yin energy, inner knowing, intuition, synchronistic opportunities, getting out of your way, the path of least resistance. And the meaning behind this card, according to the guidebook, states, which I resonate so deeply with this: loosen your hold on the reins and know the universe will catch you. Trust even though things are not as you imagined. Stay poised and aligned with your purpose. At the last minute, the situation will reveal its magic. I mean, can't make this up, right? Okay, so, and then the second card I pulled is Communication, Co-Creation. Communication, co-creation. Nonverbal communication, love language, telepathy, unique ways of communication, light language, multidimensional information, community coexistence, relationships, meeting our higher selves, really seeing someone, and deeper listening. So the specific meaning, according to the guidebook, says, how are you communicating beyond words? Perhaps you are being misunderstood because there is a dissonance between your words, actions, and behavior and what you mean to communicate. Words are like spells, so be conscious of what you say, as you may be verbally sabotaging your intended meaning. Also, be reminded that words can mean different things to different people. Something may be getting lost in translation. An issue may be cleared through improved communication. Listen carefully to what someone has to say without interruption. Furthermore, it may feel scary to share vulnerable truths, but this may be the only way forward. This card also encourages greater exploration in the realms of telepathy, healing, and the arts, such as poetry, painting, and music, where there is collective communication beyond the mind. So perfect, right? Oh, the cards do not lie, y'all. I love them. But anyway, so I hope that resonated with you as well. Definitely let us know below in the reviews or the comment section, or let us know on Instagram. Okay, so for today's conversation, I am so grateful to feature one of my dear friends, Maya Davis, for a conversation that goes deep into her background in this lifetime, her own healing journey that really started in early childhood, then the ways she just uses her spiritual foundation and toolbox to really just dance through life, knowing that she is constantly being guided and can get through anything. This girl is such a special soul, such a soul sister. We really cover it all in this episode. I know you guys are going to love this one. So I really don't want to say too much more, as this is truly one of my favorite episodes. And this is also really kind of a personal glimpse into our own friendship that totally manifested itself in 2020, and just really the areas we could both talk on and on for hours and hours with one another. So it's a fun one. Y'all are in for a treat. However, before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to remind you all of our March giveaway that is happening this entire month. For the month of March, I will be giving away one of my moon cycle oracle card readings. And this reading goes into really guidance as to where your intentions may want to be focused in this next cycle, where you'll see your most growth, what's coming into fruition, what you're letting go of, and an area you may want to lean into. These readings are so fun and so insightful. I just did mine for the new moon that occurred last Saturday, a week ago, and yeah, they blow me away. So anyway, to enter for a chance to win March's moon cycle oracle card reading, all you have to do is subscribe, rate and review the podcast, take a screenshot for proof that you entered, and then DM me on Instagram at lovingyourownsoul, or send me an email with your proof, lovingyourownsoul@gmail.com. If you share the podcast or your favorite episode on social media as well, do be sure to tag me or take another screenshot so that you can get an extra entry. Now, one other thing too, if you've previously entered a giveaway of mine, you do have to re-enter during the month of March to be considered, but all you have to do is simply just shout out one of our guests, tell us what you like the most about the episode, what you learned, your favorite conversation, etc. Your review, it really doesn't have to be about the overall podcast. You can shout out our incredible guests and give them some love too. Kind of let that section be more like comments and message boards. The winner will then be drawn and announced on April 1st, and then the giveaway will restart for the month of April. So this is really just my way of thanking you for all of your support and love of the podcast, but also to further support our wonderful guests as well. It's not easy putting yourself out there, so if you are reviewing this podcast or another one, definitely be sure to shout out the guests, name your favorite conversation or piece of their story that helped you the most. I know firsthand how much it means when you just learn that your own story, experience, or vulnerability made a positive impact on someone else's life. And to that point, speaking of positive impacts, let's go ahead and jump into today's wonderful conversation with writer, Reiki healer, and spiritual being Maya Davis of Someday My Soul. Maya, I'm so grateful to have you joining us on the podcast today and to finally hold space together here. I'm just so excited to have you.
Yes, me too. I'm so excited to be here. This is such a beautiful space that you've created, and I'm just honored and grateful to be part of it. So thank you for having me.
Of course. It's so funny. So I was just reflecting earlier on our relationship and when we connected, and I was like, oh, I feel like it must be coming up on a year since we first connected. And then I was like, wait, no, I think it's only like 8 months, 6 months, like for how strong of a bond we have. We've literally only known each other a small blip in the radar, which I just so love. And I think it just speaks so voluminous of this soul family and our connections and all the things. So I'm so grateful to be able to call you a friend and sister and just be able to share space with you like we are today.
Me too. I feel the same way. And I feel like it's also just a testament to the fact that time does not exist. And when we're kind of in this high vibe space together, it just flies by in the blink of an eye. And I feel like I know you so well. Like I consider you a dear, dear friend of mine. So it's so magical and so grateful for all of it.
I know. So fun. And for anyone who's not familiar with our relationship, we originally connected through Jordan Younger's Waking Back Up to Your Own Soul course in 2020, which we had both actually done it in 2019, but didn't connect then, which I think is so interesting just with the timing of all of that. And then connected, we're kind of like serendipitously got to work together as accountability buddies, and really it all just kind of flowed so magically. So I'm so grateful. I just feel like Jordan generates such a good energy within her community and the people she brings together, and getting to meet you through that is just such a gift.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I think it's so interesting, like you said, that we didn't really connect that first time that we both did the course. And I think in my experience, the first time I did it, it was really all about the content and taking my time on all the meditations and the journaling and just really letting that seep in. And the second time around, I felt like it was more about the connections. Like, honestly, I think my highlight, I mean, the course is amazing and I recommend it to anybody and everybody, but I think my highlight from the second time was meeting you and making some of the other connections with these beautiful soul sisters that we've kind of become friends with on Instagram. And the universe just knows what we need. Like, it presented us, you know, with each other and with this community at the perfect time. And it's just amazing.
It is. It's truly so magical. I love it so much. Yeah. It's funny too. I don't know if I've told you this before, but my intention going into 2020 at the beginning of the year was actually one of my biggest intentions was to make more friends that year, because I felt like I had been really focused on my relationship. I had spent really the later, like last 6 years before that, traveling for work all the time and just always on the go, and things had shifted ahead of COVID. And I was just like, I just cannot wait to make more friends this year. And then the pandemic hit. And it was like, well, I don't know if that's going to be possible. And then again, like we were talking earlier, the universe always knows and always had our back. So to have created all these friendships virtually, it's so cool. Like, it blows my mind.
Totally. And that's so interesting that you mentioned that, because it was actually one of the things that I was hoping to manifest as well, was divinely aligned female friendships. And I think I actually had it on my list of intentions of things to call in for both times that I did the course. And this year that has all just fallen into place. And I was just talking with Sloan about this as well, who you just had on the podcast, beautiful soul. We were having a full moon picnic together on the beach, and she was like, I feel like this was so manifested because, you know, I've been trying to call in these aligned friendships and find people who I can do things like have a full moon picnic with tarot cards and vegan snacks, and, you know, have it not be weird, but just have it be like a thing, because this is who we are. This is the stuff that we love to do. And I was like, oh my God, I think we manifested this. All of these soul sister friendships coming in at this time is just no coincidence. And yeah, it's just a testament that we, you know, when we're aligned, we just find those people who are kind of vibrating in that same space. And it's such a blessing.
I love that so much. My body is like lighting up with goosebumps as you were talking. I feel that so deeply. It's so fun.
Yes.
Well, for those who are maybe new to you or your journey, and again, like, life is a journey. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the highs of kind of the spiritual journey with manifesting and being able to call in what it is that we truly desire, whether it be friendships or other forms of abundance and things like that. But I would love to just get a better understanding, especially because I've been kind of holding out on little bits of this conversation with you so that I could hear it firsthand on here. But I would love to know kind of that evolution that got you to where you sit today. I know you've had a huge background in music and the opera, which I think is so cool. And you reside down in beautiful Miami. Yeah. So would love to just hear you kind of dive into what really brought you to where you sit today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's kind of a long and crazy story, but I'll just start from the beginning. So I sometimes tell people that I kind of came into this world a little uncomfortable in this body and a little bit just low-grade anxious all the time. And I was actually talking to my mom about this recently. She was telling me that she has this memory of me being about a month or two old, and she was walking me around the kitchen table, and I was just screaming, crying, super upset. And there was nothing that she felt like she could do to comfort me. And she said that her spiritual intuition was telling her in that moment that I had just woken up to the fact that I was on this earth and in this human body, and that I was pissed about it. Like, I did not want to be here. I was not ready. I had just come from this, blissful soul form, the bliss and comfort of being in the womb. And then I was awake to the discomfort and the, funky energies of this world. And I was not having it. So that kind of evolved over, the course of my childhood. I did struggle with pretty immense anxiety, particularly that kind of came to a head in elementary school. So I would have these crazy panic attacks, like to the point where I was terrified to go to school. Like walking into a classroom full of a bunch of kids was the scariest thing in the world for me. Just stepping outside of the comfort of my home was terrifying, because I think all I wanted as a kid was just to be held and to feel safe, because I didn't feel safe in this body. So the reason I'm kind of starting out on that note is because that experience with anxiety as a child is really what started me on my spiritual path from such a young age. And it's a reason that I have, it's a blessing in disguise that I've been able to kind of embody and really integrate some of the spiritual practices that we know and love from a really young age. And it didn't come from a place of, I just want to feel a little bit better in my day to day. It truly came from a place of like, I need these tools to survive. And I also can, just testify to the fact that they work, because I did, with the help of my mom and just this huge team of spirit guides on the other side, as well as just incredible earth angels. We had so many friends on our side, so many holistic healers and Reiki practitioners and homeopathic doctors, just this amazing team of people who helped me to ultimately heal from my anxiety. When I was about 10 years old, I haven't had a panic attack since I was 10. And
Wow.
I attribute that to homeopathic medicine that I was taking, as well as some herbs and supplements that I got on a really solid regimen with, and learning how to meditate, being healed by Reiki healers, working with crystals, working with all kinds of therapists. I've also been, in talk therapy since I was 5. So I kind of developed this arsenal of healing techniques and tools that, for all intents and purposes, healed me. I mean, for good. I don't, I'll never say never, but I really feel like the extreme discomfort and the kind of sadness and just anger about being in this body that I came into this world with has kind of been cleansed thanks to all of these healing techniques, and thanks to spirituality as a whole. I really feel like some of the hardest work of my life has already happened. And going forward, I feel like life can just kind of be a celebration, and I can use these spiritual tools and practices as ways to just celebrate life and feel amazing and feel my best and get into alignment with what it is I want to call in, whether it be financial, career, friendships, like we were talking about, relationships, all the things. But it did start out as, something that I needed to survive. And so I will forever be grateful to have had that foundation in spirituality. And then kind of going forward.
That is so beautiful. I mean,
thank you.
Just understanding. And I feel like that just puts such practicality or kind of application behind the spiritual tools for anyone who's not familiar with them or is suffering themselves and is looking for kind of help in any realm. That's just, what a journey. And to have gone through that so young as well.
Yeah. It was crazy. But I'm grateful for all of it ultimately, because I do feel like now, whatever adversity I may face in my life, I do have that foundation. And I know that I have the ability, with the right help and support, to be my own healer. And this is something that Jordan talks about a lot in the course, and that you and I have talked about, but I really believe it's true that we don't need anything outside of what inherently lies within us to heal from whatever it may be, anxiety or discomfort in the body or illness or heartbreak. We have all of the tools and we're just so infinitely powerful.
It's so true. And having that guidance and resources and kind of those guides and teachers and gurus to help help kind of enlighten us to the paths and what is possible, and maybe help us tune into that inner magic that we weren't aware of or weren't able to tap into. But I completely agree that we are 100% our own healers. And, we just need the right guidance and tools to be able to really assist us in going down that path, because it's not as commonly talked about for how powerful it is.
Truly. I mean, I will shout it from the rooftops. Holistic remedies and spirituality cured me from panic attacks. It is real, you guys. It's just so amazingly powerful.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So then kind of walking through into the next part of your journey, I believe this is where your kind of musical background pops up.
Yeah. So the music has been part of my life since the very beginning as well. My mother was a singer-songwriter for about 20 years in the DC area, just gigging and writing songs with friends, and actually, gleaning quite a lot of audience members and people who loved her music. So that was her world before I came into this world. So I feel like I have been listening to music and feeling music and being part of music since I was literally in the womb. And ever since I could talk, basically, I've been singing. I've been playing piano since I was 4. I also played cello and guitar and wrote tons of songs as a kid. And that was kind of one major bright spot in the midst of all of the anxiety that I was experiencing. And I really think that sitting at the piano and singing in particular, that was kind of my lifeline to God and source and the divine while I was in the midst of such struggle in other areas of my life. I really felt so connected to a higher power and also to my own worth. I found a lot of identity in singing and in the music that I was creating because it was unique to me. There weren't a lot of, other kids in my school who were playing piano at the level that I was, or, writing songs or taking voice lessons. So it gave me a lot of confidence, and it just kind of gave me an identity to hold on to in the midst of everything. And as I got older, I got more serious about voice lessons. I joined my high school choir, which was truly one of the most joyful experiences of my life, just singing with other people and that sensation of being an ensemble with other singers and hearing the harmonies and just letting that envelop you is such a divine experience. And that was when I realized, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to feel this feeling all the time, as much as I possibly can. So I told my voice teacher, I think I want to major in voice in college. And she gave me a couple of classical pieces to work on. And I came back and sang them for her. And she said, your voice is begging to sing classical music and opera. Like, this is what you need to be doing. And I got that confirmation from other music teachers as well. So I did end up majoring in vocal performance in college and went on to do my master's here at the University of Miami. That's why I came to Miami initially, also in vocal performance. So through all of that formal study, I both built a lot of self-worth, and there was definitely a part of me that saw myself really following that path and going all the way and singing opera at the major houses in Europe and, all around the world. But on the other hand, I don't think I had quite built my own center and my own sense of who I am quite enough to be able to discern my own thoughts about myself from all of the criticism and the external noise that was coming at me about my voice specifically, because I had voice teachers and coaches and opera directors left and right telling me, well, this is how you should sound, and this is what you're not doing right, and this is what's wrong with your voice. And that kind of ended up drowning out the joy and that connection to source that singing had always brought me. And so I've now been on this huge, long journey of working to heal from that and returning to my authentic voice, because that difficulty and all of that noise of other people's opinions has actually manifested physically in my voice. I have a lot of trouble with my vocal technique now. It's kind of broken down, and I feel like I have a lot of blockages in my voice that I know are coming from that place of energetic block. I've had a lot of voice teachers say, well, it's just a technical thing. We can fix that for you. It's no big deal. And I'm like, no, this is deeper than that. And I think it might even go into past life trauma in the throat chakra or something like that, because it's a huge kind of hurdle that I'm learning to overcome little by little on my journey. But I know that it's bigger than just not, choosing not to sing opera anymore, I'm not going to go that path of singing in the opera houses in Europe anymore. It's more than that. I think it's ultimately guiding me to find my authentic voice in other ways and not let that be contingent on the opinions of the people around me, but really just finding my worth internally and knowing that, my truth and the words and the music, maybe eventually again, that I bring into the world with my voice is inherently enough.
Wow. I was just thinking that as you were talking. First of all, it'd be so interesting. Have you ever done any past life regressions?
I have, but not with a regressionist. I've just done them like on YouTube.
Yeah, same. It'd be interesting to see just with what exists in past lives and what kind of mirrors and things like that. And would be shocked if there's experiences where you haven't been able to use your voice, whereas now you're kind of in that safe space to be able to, maybe not through the route that you originally thought, but definitely tapping into that authentic voice through your writings and your teachings and your connections. And I just can't wait to see where you grow in your journey, because I feel like you have such a special gift that definitely needs to be shared with the world. Obviously, to do respect by yourself, but then also I just know there's a whole pack of people that would benefit so much from you continuing to share. So that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's so funny. I completely feel that what you were saying earlier with the choir and feeling those vibrations of singing together. So I'm not super religious. I follow more of a spiritual path. I'm so intrigued by all religions. I think all religions are just so interesting, and I love learning about them and understanding them. Even as a kid, I always was like, well, why do we have to go to like this one church? Like, why can't I go to the other ones? Like, I want to explore everything.
Right.
But one of the things that I love so much about church is the fact of being able to sing together as a group. Like the music, even though some of the words didn't always completely resonate with me, but just singing with a whole group of people, like I loved it. I live for it. And Christmas time is really, Christmas and Easter is when I go now, but I love that singing together. It just feels so good.
Absolutely. And there's really something to that. In college, we used to call it a flow moment, where you would kind of just get lost in the vibration around you and time would kind of cease to exist, and you were just suspended in this bubble of sound. And I have goosebumps. I could cry just talking about it because those moments are so special to me. And we called it flow, which is so interesting because, in my undergrad, I had that spiritual kind of foundation and background, like I said, but I wasn't actively working on honing my own spirituality and bringing those practices into my daily life. But it kind of followed me anyway, in these little beautiful moments with music, like that was spirituality. And hearing, one of the grad students sing an opera aria, hearing her voice for the first time and feeling like, holy shit, this is the most magical thing I've literally ever heard in my life. That was a spiritual experience. So there's something to be said for that. And also for the fact that, spirituality doesn't have to be, the things that we sometimes picture, like the meditation and whatever it may be that comes to mind when you think of traditional spirituality. It can really be anything. When you get that flow moment, like that's it. That's what we're going for.
So true. I feel that especially through movement as well is kind of another area with flow. I know you just mentioned you did Soul Cycle this morning, and Soul Cycle to me is its own spiritual experience in itself. And I will stand by this. Somebody can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I firmly believe there is no other spin studio like Soul Cycle.
Yes, I completely agree. When I was in class this morning, actually, it was with Coach Rachel, who,
Oh
for
my
everybody
gosh.
listening, this was one of the amazing synchronicities that helped Britt and I to know that we were just divinely connected. Britt was living in New York. She used to ride SoulCycle with Coach Rachel, who then moved to Miami and who I now love to ride with and am completely obsessed with. And she's amazing. So that's a really cool
Which
thing
is
between us.
so fun, especially if anyone has ever
So
ridden
fun.
with Rachel, they know like the fangirl club, but I have just never connected with anyone on that until you and I spoke about it. And it was
I
just like,
know.
we knew we were meant to be connected from that point forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this morning in class, she said, this isn't just a spin class, but I think you all know that. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, girl, it's true. There's something in that room, the darkness and the music just enveloping you. And there's something about pushing yourself to that physical limit and just feeling the sweat drip off your body and feeling like, holy shit, like I'm doing this right now. It's just the coolest feeling. It feels like flying or something. It's just magic.
Totally. Oh, it's so much magic. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to understand, speaking of magic, kind of you've in really a short time, just with, for me, I truly believe that age is just a number. And like we talk, time doesn't exist and things like that. However, in your
Mm-hmm.
current experience as a human right now, you've experienced a lot in a very short amount of time. Lots of journeys and things like that. And I would love to know, do you have any inkling as to maybe why you feel that you had to experience some of the things you did, or some of that pain that has kind of maybe brought you or kind of like further crafted the space that you sit in today?
I love that question, first of all. And I love the idea of framing what we go through as something that needs to happen for us to ultimately reach our highest evolution and to get where we need to go. And I think that I've really come to this place in my life now where I can definitely see my anxiety and see my experience with that kind of vocal trauma that I went through as huge blessings, because I've really been resonating with this idea lately of the wounded healer.
Mm.
And I think that part of my path is to heal people. But in order to be able to do that, I have to understand the pain that they are in. And I also have to know firsthand that, like we mentioned earlier, healing comes from within, and that I, as a healer, can't give anybody anything that they don't already have. I can simply hold space that facilitates the healing that needs to happen, and make sure that that space is as loving and deeply compassionate as possible. Because I've also learned that love and compassion really heal all. It wasn't, when I was going to see my wonderful therapist when I was so young, it wasn't exactly the words he was saying to me or the exact specific tools he was giving me that really made the difference. It was the fact that I had a space to sit in every hour, that I knew I was going to be accepted in, that I knew I was safe in, to fully and completely be myself, no matter how messy or ugly that might have looked that day, or if I was crying or having a panic attack right there in the office. I knew that I was safe. And so I know the value of those spaces, and I know how important it is for me to create that for as many people as possible, because I think what's happening now in our world is just this giant collective manifestation of unhealed people. We
Mm-hmm.
see all this darkness and divisiveness and just scary stuff going on. And I truly believe that if we all learned how to heal our inner children and to work with our shadows and to really fully honor our emotions as they came up so that we could ultimately allow them to come out of us, I believe that this world would be such a more harmonious and unified and beautiful place to be. And I'm really grateful that that was my experience with the anxiety. I have nothing against Western medicine. I think that it has helped so many people, and many people, just need that to function at their best level. And that is amazing if that's what works for you. But for me, with the homeopathic medicine, I feel like my anxiety quite literally like came up and out of my body, like almost like an exorcism. And so I just know that we have to be creating spaces for people where they can really like look at their pain, which is scary, yes, but it's also temporary, because when you really look at your pain and where it's coming from, that's where you need to get in order to transcend it. That was kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, but
yes,
I think it's all important.
Oh my gosh, it's so important. I could not agree with you more. And Western medicine is so wonderful in so many ways, for sure. But I just think there's, again, it's just keeping that open mind on both sides. If you know one area, it's always important to really look at the other area, just like with those fears and pain bodies and things like that, to know that it doesn't have to exist. I was even having a conversation the other day with someone who had gone through an experience with another individual, and they were like, oh, it just makes me so angry that this person would do this and act like this. And as we worked through it, I was like, yeah, but for me, it makes me really sad for them. I get the anger. However, it's really sad because they're only doing those things because of how much pain that they're in. So
exactly.
Yeah, the wounded healer archetype, I feel that so strongly. And just even looking at our world, like I truly feel that we can go back to living in a utopia. And some people will say that's a very naive way of thinking. And I completely disagree with that, because I believe that that is the way to think and the way of life. And we can all get through that. We just have to walk through the darkness, and we have to clear it out and, see that rise from our bodies, because it truly can.
Yeah.
Like, it's so possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think also it's one of the reasons that we're seeing sort of like this Gen Z group of younger people who are becoming adults now, and the people who are coming into the world even younger than them. We're seeing this kind of turn towards spirituality and this desire to look within and heal on a deeper level. And I think that we kind of have this group of indigo children here on this earth now to ultimately lead us into that utopia. So I'm with you. I think it's totally real. I think it's where we're heading. And I think that it's, one of the reasons why even people like you and I, as millennials, have been through some hard stuff. And that's ultimately led us on our spiritual path. And it's not only for our healing and the healing of our future children and generations, but also for the collective, because when we rise, we help everybody around us do the same.
As humans, we want to naturally grow and to experience change. However, it's the fear of taking conscious action on these wants that keeps us stuck, keeping us unconsciously attached to an imbalanced life, attached to the habits and comfort that pain, suffering, fear, resentment, and limitations of our current realities provide to us. Whereas in reality, our true home, our real home, resides in a world of balance, a world we are aware of, yet also free of anything that no longer serves us. For balance is the key to life. Balance is the aim of all living creatures. We are all alive and living right now in this moment. Our earth is also alive. Our beautiful earth is mostly made up of water. And we too, as human beings, are made up primarily of water. Wherever there is water, there is life. And just as water must be kept in balance here on earth, we as human beings must also be kept in balance. After much discovery and witness to life's experiences, I created Ambu, a modern holistic wellness company. Ambu is a company designed to truly realign you on a mind, body, and soul level. Through my holistic wellness practice, my intention is to guide you to a more rightful and truthful way of living. A simple guide that complements and enhances where you are right now. Real change happens from within and is the key to not only transforming yourself, but your experience of the world around you. Together, I will work with you to uncover your why, adopt sustainable practices for long-lasting lifestyles, and expand to your fullest potential. Our lives, and especially the world of health and wellness, has gotten far too complicated over the years. Through my work with Ambu, I strip it all back to the beginning of time, back to the basics, in order to bring you full circle, not to a new self, but back to the essence of yourself, your one and only authentic self. Ambu offers a variety of programs and resources, each built with intention to target how unique we all truly are. We offer a 9-week wellness program called Life Imbalance, which is a snapshot of our larger 6-month program, where we will open the doors to longevity, new possibilities, happiness, the power of plants, and your total well-being. We will focus on all areas of your health, from what you are eating and why you are consuming certain foods to what's happening off your plate. This program is perfect for anyone looking for a new take on life, specific attention on gut and hormone health, mental health, immunity, and even chronic illness. We look at the full picture of your lifestyle, from your sleep, relationships, self-care and daily rituals, spiritual or religious practices, career goals and stress levels, to daily movement and activity. You are a multidimensional being, and it's crucial we keep that in mind at all times. For my 3 and 6 month program participants, one will also receive their very own customized human design blueprint produced by human design guide Becca Daly. Together, through the help of understanding your specific human design, we will be able to even more deeply structure your life in a way that supports how you are naturally designed to operate. It's truly a win-win for all of us involved. And of course, if you are someone who is simply struggling to eat healthier, knows you could be doing something different, yet have no clue where to turn, I've created my Lifestyle Tune-Up, a one-off option for us to find easy swaps, pantry replacements, and help you to better understand what is actually healthy in today's world. Plus, I will leave you with my full guide of preferred brands to shop for and supplement recommendations. All in all, a life well lived is a life that you are able to enjoy. It's time to rediscover your inner calling, your healthiest and brightest you that's been waiting inside of you for all this time. It's time to dust him or her off, and I'd love for Ambu to serve as your guide and accountability partner in this journey. So let's guide you back home to a life in balance through our modern holistic approach to wellness. To learn more, visit us at ambuwellness.com or connect with us on Instagram at ambuwellness, and let's transform together. Yeah, 100%. And there's so much space for everyone. That's one thing I just wanted to circle back on, as you mentioned, just looking at your ability of understanding and being able to be that healer is because you understand where people like yourself have sat before. And that's what makes you a healer. And as myself, same thing. I've had different experiences in terms of from a career standpoint and hitting burnout, and had that talk therapy session in my very much dark night of the soul. I kind of had like 4 waves of it over a several year period. This was kind of like part 2, but finally went to therapy. And within that first session, she had said, like, what do you like to do for fun? And I remember sitting there and I couldn't answer the question. And I told her yoga and running because that was all that came to my mind. And I was like, I haven't done either in probably 6 months. And then like a week later, a few days later, I think after that session, I finally got myself like outside back in nature. And suddenly this like light bulb went off, and I immediately grabbed my phone and started in my notepad typing it out. And suddenly it was like, wait, I know who I am. I know what I like to do for fun. And it was like this whole remembrance of self came back. And it was just so beautiful. And that's just with one modality. And then it really reconnected me to the truth and my spirituality. And again, that foundation that I had built, but had lost sight of. So when we look at who we're able to heal as individuals from these experiences, I think it's so cool in that like some people will look at the health and wellness industry or the coaching industry and feel that it's very saturated. But I would disagree with that only in the fact that we all have our pockets of kind of the niche individuals who we can help and relate to. And then my husband had his whole chronic illness journey, and I got to witness just the pain that comes from only looking at one side of medicine and being a number and not taking that full body, just human approach. So
yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said the word remembrance when you started running and you felt like you remembered who you were all of a sudden. That's what spirituality and healing to me really is. It's not going out and getting something that you don't currently have. It's remembering, oh yeah, this aligned, connected, full body, joyful person is who I've always been. It's just all the stuff from the external world that's kind of covered up that light, but the light never went out. It's always been there.
Yeah, I love that so much. You are such a light yourself. I so love talking with you. So,
Thank you.
yeah, within that, we spoke earlier about your authentic voice and finding your voice and things. And within your journey, I know at some point you started your blog, which you're currently active in, Someday My Soul, and have really kind of just been sharing a lot through the power of writing. And you are a very gifted writer. You have such a beautiful way with words. I would love to kind of understand when you started your blog and maybe kind of the intention behind it.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to where it all started, Jordan's course, I actually manifested starting the blog through my first round in the course. It was on my list of intentions. I wrote something like, I want to create a space where I can celebrate my spirituality journey and bring people into that and foster a community where we're all, on this path together and learning about the best versions of ourselves. And I think what had deterred me from doing it before that, even though it's something that I had wanted to create for a long time, was one, kind of the saturation of this online space and feeling like, oh, well, why would my voice matter? Like, there's no place for me, whatever, which is ultimately not true. And I know that now. But also, I think my trauma with my voice did really, hold me back from sharing authentically in other spaces as well as music. I was so, wounded by that experience of putting myself out there, bearing my soul on the opera stage or in my voice lesson and getting knocked down that I was like, oh no, I can't. Like, I couldn't possibly put myself out there again. But I wanted to call it in through the course, and I ended up getting a massive sign. It was super random. Somebody just approached me, total stranger approaches me on the campus of University of Miami. And she says to me, have you ever thought about starting a business? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, if you have 10 to 15 hours a week to spend, you can create your own business. Like, did you know that? This total stranger, truly one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had. And people don't typically do this at UM. It's not really the kind of campus where people are just approaching strangers for a conversation. But this girl, she just started talking to me about how she was like, I want to start my own business and I'm just trying to connect with people and, see if other people are in that entrepreneurial mindset and how we can do this. And I was like, what the hell is happening? This is so weird. But ultimately, I knew that she was placed in my path for whatever reason. Maybe she was an alien. I don't even know. It was such an out there experience that I have not completely dismissed the possibility that she was some kind of light being.
I love this so much. In
physical form. I know, sent to tell me to start my blog. But anyway, after that, I was like, okay, that was not a coincidence. The universe is literally shouting in my face with random strangers to start my blog and build something from scratch, even though it really scares me. Oh, and one other thing about that story that I want to just quickly mention, I was also asking specifically for the sign blue at that time because I was working to connect with the Pleiadians. And that girl had a blue phone case. And on the back, it had it was blue and then it had this little whale and it said, I am a blue whale.
Oh my gosh.
So that was just that little extra sprinkle on top of okay, I see you. So anyway, long story kind of short, I then just committed. I was like, okay, I'm going to start this blog. This was in September. I wanted to launch by October 24th because that's my birthday. So I worked for about a month to build the website. And it started out as this terrible looking WordPress site. And since then, I've gone through many different iterations of the website. And now I'm actually working with a web designer to make it even more beautiful. So it's really evolved so much from the beginning. But I really just needed that little push from the universe to say, hey, you have something to say. You're worthy of being heard. Just make this happen. Put in that, work that you don't want to do on creating a website and all that back end stuff that you're not interested in. Just do it. It's going to be worth it. And it absolutely was. I think creating the blog has been one of my most just joyful things. It's such a creative, like lovely space for me to just feel like I can literally write whatever I want because I'm not on anybody's watch but my own. I'm just able to share whatever's coming up for me. And I've really found that the posts that are most personal and vulnerable and related to my own experience, my raw, unfiltered experience, have been received with the most resonant response. Like I wrote a series of posts called My Difficult Journey with, or as a classical singer, all about what I've gone through with the opera world and voice. And those are my most read posts to date. And they're not even about spirituality. So it's just taught me, it's taught me that authenticity is something that people gravitate towards. And so there's really no benefit to trying to create content that's exactly the same as somebody else's, or to be, relevant or hip or trendy or whatever, because if it's not authentic to you, then people are going to, on some level, be able to see that and recognize that. And I think it's so much more valuable to even reach like a small amount of people who are really resonating with and getting value and elevating their vibration through your content than to reach, like a million people, but you'll never talk to any of them one-on-one, or you'll never get, that magical message in your inbox, or somebody says, you changed my life, or, I'm trying this because of you. So yeah, for me, it's all about divine alignment and connection, and just sharing a space with like-minded people who are on this awakening and elevating journey with me.
So amazing. And I completely agree. I mean, there is nothing like getting those messages in your inbox, or having somebody text you or email you or whatever it is to let you know how much your own vulnerability truly helped them and shifted their life. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's so beautiful. We've obviously kind of noted on intuition, and you starting your blog was something that you called in, you received your signs. You mentioned that then there was kind of the tech side of it and more of that, well, how do I do this? Can I actually do this? Who am I to do this? I would love to know, in that journey, did you have moments of giving up where the ego had kind of completely taken over? Because I know so many of us, myself included, we get that intuitive hit of, I need to do this. And then either we get stuck in the, well, how can I do this? It's not possible. Or we actually take action on it and then have to kind of go through the rough of learning something new to get there that can also kind of hold us back. But you obviously pushed through to the end, which was so worth it. But did you have any moments where you almost did give up in the process?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think that I was ever, from the moment I got that sign, I don't think that it was ever an option for me to just never create the blog. It was always going to come to fruition. From then, I just knew I was committed. But I definitely had moments where I was like, well, this is going to suck. Like the negative self-talk would start to creep in. And I felt like, well, who even cares if I don't know how to design a website that looks beautiful? Like, what am I even doing? And nobody's going to like this. And just imagining all of the negative things that people would say about it. So I definitely had some of those spirals, particularly when it came to web design and actually like the physical, like the technical aspects of building it, because that's just the part that I struggle with the most. And I've kind of learned to ask for help with that now. Like I said, I'm working with a web designer, which was a long time coming for me. I should have asked for help from the beginning, but I'm kind of a stubborn person. So I was like, nope, I'm just going to figure this out on my own. Yeah, I'm just going to do it. And I have to have control over this process and, that whole thing. But I think one of the big lessons when I would go into those negative thought spirals was to allow myself to take a step back, because I'm also the kind of person who, when I'm working on a project and it's not perfect, I'll sit there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever it takes to get it to whatever I'm envisioning. Even if I told myself I was going to stop working at this time, I will just barrel on through, because I have such a hard time leaving a project in a state or a place that feels imperfect to me. So, and my boyfriend would call me out on this all the time when I was building the website. He was like, babe, you need to stop. You need to take a step back. And he's so good at being a mirror for me in that way, because one of his gifts is being in a state of being rather than doing. So with his help and, just learning through the process, I did learn to just take a step back and come back to it with fresh eyes the next day or a couple hours later. And almost always the problems would immediately solve themselves when I just went into stillness or quiet or thinking about something else. And then another thing that really helped was just asking for my spirit guides and my angels to assist me. Angels are really good with technology, guys. Like they will literally solve a tech problem for you in an instant. So just asking when things get really difficult and scary and you're in a process that feels uncomfortable, just ask and you will inevitably receive the assistance that you're needing.
I love that. Such a perfect segue as well. So one of the things that we've kind of touched on is asking for signs, asking for our spirit guides, our angels to come in and work with us. Mm-hmm. I would, for anyone who is maybe listening, who this is the first time they've heard about it, or they're just totally not familiar or have tried it and maybe didn't get the sign, I would love to hear from you just kind of what that process looks like and maybe how the best way to kind of get started and start getting comfortable with that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. So for those who maybe aren't familiar with the idea of spirit guides, I like to think of our spirit team as kind of like a set of just loving beings, loving entities who are around us and who are, specifically here to assist us with whatever it is we may ask for assistance with. And these spirit guides can be your ancestors. My grandfather on my mother's side is one of my most wonderful spirit guides. I feel like he's always with me. They can be angels. I also feel very connected to Archangel Michael. They can be just, any loving entity of light. Or if you don't resonate with the idea of spirit guides at all, it could also just be the universe at large, just this benevolent force of love and compassion that has our best interests at heart. And so when asking for signs, you can address either your spirit guides or the universe as a whole. And, just say something along the lines of, or write it in your journal. Writing is also a really great way to do this. Spirits of love and compassion, or grandpa or Archangel Michael or whoever it is you want to address. I'm really needing a sign of confirmation that you're with me, that you're guiding me on this path. Please send me a blue butterfly or a crystal or a specific type of plant or anything, a llama. Like it can just be something that either pops into your mind in the moment or an object or a symbol that means something special to you, a number. But just make the ask really specific. And I think also the addressing of the guides is really important because while they are kind of around us and floating around in the spirit realm, we have access to them at all times. We do have to make that ask. We do have to say, hey, I'm inviting you into my life to give me guidance. I'm asking for it. I want it. And so that's a really key part of the process. And then when it comes to receiving the signs, you can set a timeline if you like. If you want to get really specific, you can say, I want to see this sign within 24 hours, or please send this to me within a week. And then ultimately, if you don't end up receiving your sign, to me, just kind of intuitively, I've always interpreted that as a sign in and of itself, that it's time to take a step back, slow down a little bit, get back into your body so that you're in more of a heart-centered space and a present space where you can, be in the moment enough to look around and look up and notice the things that might otherwise be passing you by. Because Britt and I were also talking about this earlier, signs can come in the most unexpected ways, and they're really kind of funny and subtle and interesting and just unexpected. So you do want to, be present enough to keep your eyes peeled and just be open to whatever way your guides in the universe might want to send that to you, because it's probably going to be a way that you are not expecting.
Completely. And I think too, to that point also, when you get your sign, it's so human of us to get that sign and then be like, oh, wait, this is too good to be true. There's no way.
Yes.
But
yeah,
there's no coincidences. Like it's completely synchronistic and that was sent to you. So try to let that, ego self kind of get out of your own way and like really trust. And sometimes too, I'll say, for me personally, I'd love to know what you do, but I'll even say, oh, okay, Thank you. Like at the beginning, I think this was my sign. I'm feeling I'm not completely sure, would it be okay to show me one more for confirmation?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing. And usually it ends up being in abundance. Like I asked for a sunflower the other day and there were like 2 sunflower vendors on the side of the road. And like my student was using a virtual Zoom background that was sunflowers. And my boss at work gave me a little like sunflower kit to plant, like just these funniest, most, subtle and intricate ways to show you. So
wait, this is how connected we are. So I've seen 3 different sunflowers today. And I completely forgot. I don't remember when you talked, if this was yesterday or the day before. And I was like, oh, that's so fun. Like, I love sunflowers so much, but until you started talking, and now I get it. It was definitely because we were talking today. So,
oh my gosh. I love that. That is amazing. I love that.
Do you have, so sometimes too, especially I feel like on Instagram, I see a lot of chatter with angel numbers and things and repeating numbers. And I love angel numbers. My angel number is 16. I think yours is 444 or just 44?
Yeah, 444 is one of them. And then I also have 723.
Love that so much. Yeah. In what ways or what? Because I kind of have my own interpretation of my specific angel numbers. Whenever you do see your angel numbers, what does that feel like to you, even if you haven't really been asking for them, but they're just kind of popping up all over?
Yeah. So usually with 444, I feel like it's just my guides kind of waving hello to me and confirming that I'm on the right path. And when I'm having an especially busy day and I know I'm going too fast, but I'm having trouble slowing down and I see a 444, I'm like, oh yeah, breathe, take a step back. You're being guided. You don't have to force everything. So, I don't get super specific with the meaning. I know there are a lot of amazing, pieces of information on, the internet and everything, and in angel number books about the very specific meanings of 111, 222. But for me, the 444 is just like a general confirmation of hey, it's all good. You're right where you need to be. And then with 723, that one is actually a little more specific because it is the day, July 23rd is the day that my grandfather passed away, who's now one of my very special spirit guides. And it's also my mom's birthday and my boyfriend's mom's birthday.
Wow.
So yeah, so that one has a lot of magic in it, and I normally associate it with my grandpa, but my mom and I have also bonded over it. So I also feel like, my mom and I aren't that far away. She also lives in Florida, but I also feel when I see 723 that it's an invitation to just remember where I come from, remember the support that is surrounding me at all times, and just know that, I have so much love surrounding me, and just to take a moment to be so grateful for that. So I do always say thank you when I see 444 or 723. And I think that's another good tip for people who might be interested in asking for a sign, is to really take a moment to express that gratitude when you do receive it.
Oh my gosh, I completely agree. And it's such a breath of fresh air. Same, it's kind of that, just that pause, that reminder. And I'm always just oh, okay. Yes. Thank you. Everything is going to be good. Yeah. I was just doing some math in my head as you were talking, and I think both 723 and 444 add up to 12, and then 1 + 2 is 3.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting. That. Right? Wait. Do you know your life path number?
I don't. I figured it out at one point, but I can't remember what it is. I have to go way deeper into numerology. It's so cool.
Totally. It'd be so interesting to see what 12 or 3, especially 3 though. That's just definitely, that they both add up to that. So fun. I love it.
Yeah. We'll have to look up what 3 symbolizes when we finish up.
100%. For anyone who would love to connect with you further and check out your blog and everything, where can people find you?
Yeah, so the blog is called Someday My Soul, and that's the website, somedaymysoul.com. I'm also Someday My Soul on Instagram, where I share almost daily just about my life and little nuggets of messages from the universe or whatever it may be. But the blog is really kind of my soul's home, and where I share the majority of what's going on my spiritual journey and the big moments. And I also have started to incorporate guided meditations and Reiki healings into my offerings as well. I've been doing a whole lot of distance Reiki in this past year, which has been such an incredible gift. I feel so connected to the Reiki energy and feel like it's a big part of my path as a healer. So offering that has been such a joy and a gift. So if anybody is interested just to learn more about Reiki, it's one of my passions. So I would love to talk about that. And if anybody is interested in having distance Reiki, you are eligible wherever you may be in the world because we can do it remotely. And my clients have had some really amazing experiences, even with the remote Reiki. So I can definitely testify that there is no time and space when it comes to energy healing and high frequency energy. It doesn't matter where we are in the world. We'll be able to communicate in that way energetically. So.
Oh my gosh, I completely agree. I think that's what's so cool about it. And I totally get the apprehension around virtual and everything, but it completely works. Like it's absolutely incredible. So I love that.
Yes,
and I know that you
absolutely.
also just had your first workshop this year as well, Anchored in Source.
Yes.
Do you have anything coming up that you're comfortable telling us about, or any manifestations in the works?
Yeah, so offering my first workshop was such a fun experience. I got the whole of the content of the workshop as a huge download one day, and I delivered the workshop almost word for word as what came out on the page. The structure was exactly the same, all the things. So that was so special, and I feel like it was kind of an invitation from the universe for me to start stepping into more visual mediums, vocal mediums. Again, going back to the voice stuff, I definitely have a lot of just residual anxiety surrounding being vulnerable in a way that involves speaking. For example, even being on the podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, out of my comfort zone, and it's a blessing because of that. But I think I'm being called to step into more of these spaces where I'm speaking and I'm live with people rather than being behind the keys writing, which is really my happy place, but it can also become kind of a comfort zone. So the goal this year is to step into way more of that. I want to offer so many more workshops. You were saying to me, Britt, as I was preparing for the first one, you were like, you're going to want to do like 8 million more of these after you do the first one. And it's so true. So on the horizon, I actually have plans to do a workshop with my mom, who is also an incredible spiritual teacher, thought leader, wisdom seeker. She's been a member of the spiritual community for, 40 years or something like that, way before it was cool, way before everything was on Instagram and in meme form. She's really read all of the sacred texts and meditates for an hour a day. So she is fully immersed in all of this stuff in a way that I'm so grateful to have just been in proximity to for my whole life. So she and I are going to offer a little meditation-centric workshop, essentially giving the foundations of what meditation is all about and how people can approach it, even if they might feel intimidated by it or it's something that they've never tried before. We're just going to make it really step by step and simple, and add a little gratitude practice and journaling in there as well to just round out the experience. So that's on the horizon. And then from there, I just want to create this year in 2021. Just want to create more workshops and a course. I want to make a course as well. Like, I don't have any hardcore plans for any of that yet set in stone, but I just feel like it's all coming. And I know that when those downloads start coming in, like it did for the first workshop, that it'll be go time.
So exciting. Oh my gosh, I love it. I am definitely going to attend that workshop. I'm going to see if my mom would be interested too, because it'd be so fun to have like mother-daughter duos on there with you guys.
Yes.
Just such feminine energy with our lineage and everything like that. It'd be so fun.
That would be so fun. We would love to have you both.
Well, I could talk to you all day. I actually was thinking
Same.
As like I'm more comfortable sharing pieces of my journey with my voice. I've had a lot of uncoverings recently as to why I have struggled with my voice, and I kind of leaned on writing as that comfort zone and just that whole journey. But as you were speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to do another episode about that. It's not stuff I'm ready to share yet, but as again, when the time is right, it will definitely
Yes.
manifest itself.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's going to be amazing. It's
Yeah.
so sacred, the voice and the journeys that we all go through with finding our authenticity in that way. It's part of your physical body and it's a huge part of your energy. So I think everyone's journey with their voice is poignant and sacred. So I think a lot of people will really resonate with that.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, before we close out officially today, I love to end with some loving your own soul questions, as I call them. So to begin, what is your sun, moon, and rising sign?
So I am Scorpio sun and moon and Cancer rising. So I am watery AF, water across the board, and emotional, all the things.
And so psychic as well. In what
Yes.
ways did kind of like understanding, the big three, understanding your moon and rising in addition to your sun, did that have any impact on kind of that sense of self or identity?
Yeah, for sure. It was actually very interesting to learn that I'm Scorpio sun and moon because knowing that I was a Scorpio sun, I actually kind of resisted it. I was like, well, I don't feel like a Scorpio and I don't resonate with a lot of that like dark, brooding energy that a lot of people associate Scorpio with. But learning that it was also my moon, I was like, okay, I need to like dig into this a little bit further and see what's going on here because it's obviously a huge part of who I am. And I think what I've come to resonate with most is the idea of the depths, right? Because it's water signs. And so just thinking about the depths and kind of like that well of wisdom. That's actually what my astrologer called it when I had a reading with her a little while ago. She said, the Scorpio has this well of wisdom inside. And I was like, okay, I can get behind that because I do feel like I kind of have that sometimes wisdom beyond my years and ideas to share that really do go very deep. I am not really interested in having surface level conversations on the blog or even in friendships these days. I almost can't do small talk. I really struggle with it. So I really identify with the idea of being deep and rich and watery and flowy, but it's also taught me to seek balance and also to learn how to tap into kind of the antithesis of water, which is the fire side, and stepping into being able to advocate for myself and stand up for myself and be an authority figure in settings when I'm teaching or giving the workshop. So I'm still working on that part, but just something that I try to be intentional about for sure.
I love that. I'm a Cancer rising as well, which I think is so fun that we have that connection. And it's interesting what you just said about the fire because I'm an Aries sun and then a Sagittarius moon. So my sun and moon are fire, fire, water. So it's just interesting, the blend. I've actually had this like inkling lately to put like astrology charts on top of each other as it pertains to relationships and friendships. Because I think it would be so fun just to see where we have, what we align with, just at a deeper level, because believe in it so much.
Definitely. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you have fire and water in your big three signs because you are such a balanced and grounded and just even keel person. So that makes a ton of sense to me.
Oh, thank you. Speaking of water and balance, I think it was this year or maybe the later part of 2020, but I think it was more recently, you did 30 days of no alcohol. And I would love to know what were some of your biggest just like takeaways during that period?
Yeah, that was a really good experiment for me, or a powerful experiment, I should say, because alcohol is kind of treated as something very celebratory in my family. There's actually alcoholism on both sides of my family as well. So it does kind of bleed into that darker side of it in some ways. But it's just something that I felt like, oh yeah, this is part of my life. Like, this is just what people do. We just drink, at night or when we're celebrating something. It's just what humans do. And that's what I've always done with my family. So to step away from that for an intentional, significant period of time, and it was my first time doing that. I mean, probably since college, it was the first time that I said, putting my foot down, officially not drinking for a month, no matter what happens. It was empowering because I realized, one, I can do this. There is life without a glass of wine at dinner. It's all good. And I also felt like I was bringing myself out of my comfort zone for the sake of my health, which is such an empowering feeling to take your health into your own hands, which is something that you teach so beautifully in your course, Life in Balance, just really giving people the tools that they need to use their food as medicine and take their health into their own hands by making really intentional and conscious choices about what they put into their body. So I felt really good about myself while I was doing it. I was like, wow, I'm choosing not to put, a form of toxicity into my body. And then I was replacing it with other things. I was drinking way more water because simultaneously I was doing a gallon of water a day, and I was making healthier choices with my eating. My sleep improved drastically. That was like one of the number one takeaways, just sleeping so much better and waking up in the morning feeling like, I'm good. I'm ready to go, not needing naps throughout the day. And just knowing that my liver and my kidneys were getting the full cleanse, full, 4 weeks of reset that they deserve. And now that I'm out of the 30 days, I really feel like I just don't need to drink every day. Like my body has gotten out of that habit. And so it's not just an unconscious part of my routine where I'm like, well, it's this time of night, so this is what's happening. If I want it, I'll have it. If I want to use that as a way to celebrate and surround it with the energy of joy and gratitude and awesomeness, which I did last night. I had a date night with my boyfriend and we had special drinks and it was so fun. Then I'll do that. I'm not going to restrict myself from that, but I don't need it to have fun. And I know how good I feel without it. So very grateful for all that taught me.
That's so cool. That's so beautiful. That could be a whole nother conversation in itself. I love too, just when we kind of break the habits of something, it comes back feeling so much more celebratory and just a little bit more enjoyable again. So, 100%. So great that you did that. Yeah. If you were a flower, what type of flower do you think you would be?
Ooh, well, I want to say sunflower right off the bat because that's been just around my energy and you've been seeing the sunflowers and I have been feeling very actually awake to my fiery energy in the last couple of days, which I just mentioned is something I'm still working on. But, in a couple of teaching settings that I was in this week, I was like, wow, who is this person that's coming out of me? I'm so authoritative and fiery and funny. And so that has been just, manifesting in me for whatever reason. And I feel like the sunflower has that brightness and that zinginess and happiness. So right now it's a sunflower, but could always change. Who knows?
Absolutely. I love that. We kind of started out the episode talking about the kind of darkness of your childhood, but I would love to know on kind of the other side of that, what was something that you really enjoyed doing or kind of brought you joy as a child?
Yeah. So music always, that would be the number one. But I also loved performance from a very young age, which is kind of counterintuitive. You wouldn't think that a child with anxiety would want to be on stage or be in front of a camera, but I always did. That's always been a happy place for me. So, in our home videos, I'm playing Snow White or I'm singing the, Seven Dwarfs song or singing along with the TV and just being a ham. So I would say being in spaces where I can perform and be on stage, and that evolved pretty deeply throughout the course of my childhood. I did plays and drama and theater all through elementary, middle, and high school, and that's just a huge home for my soul.
I love that. Do you know your North Node by any chance in astrology?
I can't remember. I know that I have looked at it and been like, oh, that's my North Node, but I can't remember it right now. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'm just curious to know.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you are most curious about right now?
Ooh. I am curious about how the energy on the planet is shifting. I'm curious to see how the shift in our political climate will change the way that people show up in the world, if it will. And I'm curious to see just kind of what 2021 has in store for us, what lessons it has to teach us. I feel like with, 2020 and Black Lives Matter coming to light in such a strong way, that had such huge lessons for all of us to learn. And I just have this intuitive feel that that's not over, and that we're going to be shown, more mirrors are going to be held up to us as a collective. And so I'm curious to see how that's going to happen and show up.
Completely feel that so much. Final question that I ask all of my guests. It's actually kind of a funny question for you because I feel like it really wraps up our episode together, but when did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
Yeah, it began when I was a young child, when I first felt all that pain, and my mom just jumped to my side to help me to figure out what that was and to ultimately lift it up and out of me. So I've been soul searching since, I don't know, age 2 or 3, something crazy like that. And since then, it has evolved into a celebration. It went from survival mode to not really practicing any type of formal spirituality at all in high school and college, to then coming back to it full circle as a grown human out of my master's program, finally, learning to rediscover my voice and discover who I am and act from my center and really just live from my heart and from my truest authenticity. And spirituality is really just a way to guide us all to that place. And it's ever evolving, it's always going to change, and we're always going to reach that next level. But right now, it's a big celebration of life and authenticity and truth and love and all the good things.
So wonderful. Oh, I just love our conversations so much. And I love you too. Thank you for just really sharing your heart in our conversation today. This was so special. And I know it was so meaningful on your end, just as yourself and your own journey within your soul. But I know for those listening, this is going to be really impactful for those on the other end. So thank you for that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun. I feel like I'm ready to just do it again right now. Like I just could talk to you for hours and hours, and so grateful for this.
What an incredible episode. Isn't Maya just the sweetest? She truly is such a special soul, such a dear friend. I am just so grateful for her friendship, our bond, and just all the wisdom that she shares. I so look forward to just following along and continuing more of this journey with her. If you enjoyed today's episode, definitely let us know. I know it would mean the world to not only myself, but her as well. So definitely go give her some love. And to that point as well, do be sure to enter to win one of my moon cycle oracle card readings for the month of March by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. Plus, you get a bonus entry if you also share your favorite episode with us on social media. So be sure to screenshot your proof and send it to me as your entry on Instagram at lovingyourownsoul or email lovingyourownsoul@gmail.com. Thank you again for tuning in and being a part of this community. I look forward to continuing the journey with you again soon.